Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, by his own admission, Dr. Eric Recker spent many years climbing mountains without ever relishing the view from the top. Then, during the COVID pandemic, when his dental practice was shuttered, he discovered the benefits of being present in the moment, and the Winda Now concept was born. But what is Winda Now all about, and what tangible benefits can it deliver? Eric joins us now to reveal all. Eric, you're a dentist, pilot, elite success coach, speaker and author, and they're just some of the hats that you have worn throughout your career. But I'd like to start the interview by speaking about the first part of your life and where that took you.
Thanks for having me, Karl. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, the first part of my career was doing what a lot of us do when we start our careers, working as hard as we can, trying to provide for our families. In my case, it was building a dental practice and trying to provide good services for my patients, trying to provide a lifestyle for my employees and employment for them. And really, it was a real growth model. But through that, I found that with always pushing for more and more, I tended to lean towards burnout for quite a while. I don't think I realized that that's what it was, but I would say for probably 8 to 10 years, I was really kind of stuck in that pattern of burnout, kind of that hamster wheel type of mentality.
And despite owning a dental practice with a team of 20 staff, becoming a pilot and travelling extensively, you were still searching for something in your life. So what was missing?
Yeah, one of the things that I love to talk to people about is if you don't know why you're climbing the mountain, then you're not going to find the answer when you get to the top of that mountain. So the first half of my career, first half of my life I kept climbing the mountain. And I didn't even know which mountain I was literally climbing. I just kept climbing. So it was actually at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro where I realized that I got to the top of that mountain, and the next thing, I was ready to just get on to the next thing. I didn't take any time to celebrate, any time to enjoy that moment. It was just, here I am. I've climbed the mountain. Obviously, there's another mountain to climb. We got to get after it. So I really just didn't take any time to enjoy my life. It was just push, push, push all the time.
And why was that the case?
When I was growing up in my formative years in elementary school, I was bullied quite a bit. And so in the midst of being bullied, the one thing that I did was I made a pact with myself that people were never, ever, ever going to not pick me. So I overcompensated and worked as hard as I could on everything that I did, and never really felt like anything was good enough for myself. So in some ways, I was still living for the support of those bullies who had moved on from me long ago.
The COVID pandemic and the resulting closure of your dental practice actually then marked a turning point in your life. So what did you change at that stage?
Yeah, great question. One of the things that I changed is I'd never had that much discretionary time in my life. I had always been so busy, whether it was with work or extra things that I had put on my plate. And so I found myself with some discretionary time. So what I decided to do is that until my office was back open, I was going to spend 30 minutes a day in total silence. The first time that I tried that, I'm not a very patient, sit-still kind of guy. I know that's not going to surprise you, but I looked at my watch probably 45 seconds into that time and thought, boy, we got to be about at 30 minutes. So it took a while to get there, but learning how to incorporate silence and stillness into my life to counteract some of the craziness and busyness was really transformative for me during the pandemic.
And what benefits can be achieved from being present in your own life like that?
Yeah, while I was just running from thing to thing, I really was missing many of life's great experiences. And one of the things I've learned even recently is that the experiences that we remember the most are experiences that involve multiple senses. So last week, my son got married, and we had a rehearsal dinner. And it was a 5 senses experience with the the people that we saw, the smells from the food that we had, the taste of the food, the touch of a hug from someone else, and the different conversation that we were hearing. So that was one of those moments, and that will really stick with me for a long time because of that experience. And so when we show up with all of our senses for a moment, then we're much more likely to have a good experience in that moment and something that will stick with us.
Talk to us about the epidemic of distraction and how it impacts people's lives.
I think one of the things that's missing the most in our lives right now is quiet and stillness. And what distraction does, and I think I'm going to pick on phones a little bit because phones are the easiest distraction. They're the easiest thing in front of us to pick up. They're the easiest way for us to zone out. When we do that, we avoid those times when our body is meant to just be still, when our brain is meant to idle for a little bit. It used to be if we were at a stoplight, we just had to be at that stoplight for a little bit until it turned green. Now, the first thing that a lot of us do is pick our phone up. When we're in line at the grocery store checkout, used to be there might be a conversation there, or you might be able to just observe what was going on. Now the phone comes back out. And when our minds are constantly stimulated and distracted, then they don't have any time to recover. And so we have this life that seems frantic, even though we're not really that busy. We just are busy with our distractions.
And what is the root cause of that, Eric?
That's a great question. I think one of the root causes is that we want to be connected to something. So we feel connected to our phone, and maybe through social media we might have a whole bunch of followers. We might have friends, all of those things, but those are really false, superficial commitments, and they don't give us what we really need, which is connection. We were meant for connection, but we're certainly searching for it, I think, in the wrong places.
For people that are listening this morning and can relate to what you're saying, what is the first step that they should take?
Yeah, I think one of the first steps, and with a lot of the people that I coach and speak to, we talk about just asking a simple question when you're ready to pick up your phone, is just asking, why am I picking it up? I don't have a problem with phones. I just think we're not using them very responsibly. So instead of always having that be our default, think there's something else that we could do to take care of ourselves in that moment.
And in that respect, you have developed a concept called the win the now, and that actually signaled the start of the second part of your own life. But what is win the now all about?
Win the now is about being present in the moment. And it's a way to, I think, to slow down time a little bit and experience moments. So what I teach people to do is to figure out what their now is. So for me as a dentist, when I'm at my office, my day is broken into 15-minute chunks. So what I try to do is find a way to win in that 15 minutes. So a win might be a great conversation with one of my patients. A win might be a great dental procedure getting done. A win might be a chance to lift up one of my team members by paying them a compliment or teaching them something constructive or listening to what's on their minds. And then in doing that, if you win in that 15 minutes and then you have the next 15 minutes, what does a win look like there? And if you stack a few wins in a row, then you get a win streak. But also, if you take a loss, then you remember that the next 15 minutes is right around the corner and another win could be right along the way. So it is just really the mindset of presence. How can we show up for all of the moments of our lives?
And how long does it take to develop that discipline?
I think it's one of those things that we can be pretty hard on ourselves and think if we don't catch on to it right away that we're failing, but that's not the case at all. It is something that you can try a number of experiments with. You can think about the different nows of your life. Having dinner with your family is a now. What does a win look like in that? As in good conversation, good listening, experiencing the meal. And then the next now might be driving to work. And what does that look like? Is that a good time to listen to a podcast or listen to some music or maybe just be quiet with your thoughts? And then you break the day into a number of nows and you try to figure out what a win looks like in each one of those. And then you try some experiments. And over time, I've had people that have really been able to figure out this concept over maybe a month or so of really trying to work at it. It's taken me a little bit longer than that, but it really is an amazing way to live life.
And what benefits does Win the Now actually bring to people's lives as a result?
Yeah, so when you are present to the moment, I talk about winning for yourself and winning for others. So when you are only halfway in the moment, say you're having a conversation with a good friend and your mind is elsewhere, or you are on the phone and you miss out on that moment, then nobody wins in that. But when you are present to the moment, then everybody wins. It's a better experience for everybody, and it really lifts your whole mindset. It's a great way for self-care, which is definitely one of the things that we're missing out on in life right now.
Typically, what type of people do you work with on the Win the Now program, and what problems are they trying to overcome?
Yeah, so I work with high achievers like myself who have worked really hard to get where they're at. They've worked their tails off to get to where they're at. But lately they're not so sure they're on the right path, or it doesn't feel as fulfilling as what they thought it might be. So what we do is we get together and we do a complimentary call first, but then we form a coaching relationship if it's mutual that we want to work together. And then we try to figure out some steps that we can take to change mindset and to get a good direction so that people know which path they're on, and to know and have optimism that good days are ahead.
And resilience is a topic that we've covered many times here on Business Matters, but in a business world where adversity is a regular agenda item and endurance is often required on a daily basis, how can business owners become more resilient?
Yeah, business owners can definitely become more resilient by having good systems in place. So basically everything that we do in our life is a system. The habits that we have are systems. So anything that we can do to set ourselves up for success is going to help us prepare to be resilient. So things like setting ourselves up for success for the next week. So things as easy as meal prep, setting our clothes out the night before, taking a look at our calendar before the week starts and making sure that we're getting everything set up, having a good, clean workspace, having good quality relationships. If we're all alone, it's going to be a lot harder to be resilient. Exercising, just having good habits. And the thing is that motivation, I think, runs away from us pretty fast. But if we can be disciplined with our habits, then we're much more likely to be resilient when adversity comes.
And Eric, finally, what are your top 3 tips for business owners to thrive in today's challenging commercial environment?
Yeah, I think number 1 is take care of yourself. If we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else is going to. And if we want to be a good boss, a good leader, we have to find ways to take care of ourselves. Number 2 would be have good relationships. We're not meant to do this life on our own, and we're not meant to be an island, so we have to have good quality relationships. If you don't have those, having a coach is a great way to start. Having a mentor is a great way to start, but it's super important to have good relationships. And finally, to learn to win the now, to show up to your life fully present, undistracted, ready to make a difference in the world.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Dr. Eric Recker, the developer of the Win the Now concept, and I'd like to thank Eric for joining us on this morning's show.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.